So yesterday, the Packers' first unofficial depth chart was released by the Packers PR team, and this does not seem to be something that is put together by Matt LaFleur, and so I don't know how much you could honestly take away from this because the coaches aren't really deciding this. And just to show you before I get into it, here's what Aaron Nagler asked Matt LaFleur this morning about the unofficial depth chart. It's just 15 seconds, then I'm going to share this information. Here you go.
Yesterday we saw the release of your first unofficial depth chart. How much input did you have into it? How much of it was a Waller's production?
It's a Waller's production. So he tried to show it to me. I think I glanced at it for 2 seconds, and then I gave it back to him.
So I just share that to show that this may not be, the end-all, be-all of this Packers roster, just an unofficial depth chart put together by the PR team. But we can still take a look and see what they had to say here. First off, on the offense, no surprises, honestly, here. At wide receiver, we got Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, the three starters there at wide receiver. Behind them, we got Wicks, Malik Heath, Bo Melton. No surprises there, I would say. One guy that has really started to push himself up the roster at receiver, I would say, is Grant Dubose over the past couple weeks based on differing reports coming out. And so maybe he competes there with Malik Heath for one of those final spots. We'll see if that continues. And then the offensive line has been one of the biggest areas where there's a little bit of uncertainty as to, who will start where. I think we're getting some more clarity as the training camp has gone by. We got Rasheed Walker, left tackle. He's obviously locked in at left tackle, not competing with anyone. Elton Jenkins at left guard, Josh Myers at center, right guard Jordan Morgan, then right tackle Zach Tom. And Zach Tom has not yet been back to team reps, but it sounds like this week he'll probably get back there. And Jordan Morgan has pretty much solidified himself as the right guard in about the past week at Packers training camp. Before that, he had been competing with Sean Ryan. So that honestly looks like what the Packers offensive line will probably be like going into week one, as long as Zach Tom is fully ready to go at right tackle. Then behind them, we got Andre Dillard at left, behind Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Kadeem Telford, the other tackle there, and then Caleb Jones, the third one. And Matt LaFleur mentioned in his press conference today that there's a battle for that third tackle spot, the backup, I guess you could say swing tackle, between Andre Dillard, Kadeem Telford, and Caleb Jones. And Andre Dillard has struggled at times in this camp. Caleb Jones has been injured a little bit, but he's been back. And then Kadeem Telford has, I think, had some nice plays as well. So we'll see there who competes for that final, or the third tackle. Then we got at guard, Royce Newman. Behind at center, Jacob Monk, recently drafted. Then Sean Ryan behind Jordan Morgan. So honestly, no really surprises there. Then at tight end, Luke Musgrave starting, Tucker Kraft behind him. Makes sense. And then QB Jordan Love, Sean Clifford behind him. And Sean Clifford has struggled a lot, I think, this training camp. And so Michael Pratt and him have been competing there, but right now on the unofficial depth chart, we got Sean Clifford. Now, running back, Josh Jacobs, a starter. Obviously, that's a given. And then behind him, that's where there are some questions. A.J. Dillon has looked pretty good. He is the backup here. Marshawn Lloyd, Packers rookie, has been dealing with some injuries, so he's gotten a slow start coming back to camp, but he's been getting some reps the past week. And then Emmanuel Wilson behind him. And so based on the Packers talking, and Adam Stenovich, Packers OC, the other day mentioned how he thought Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon is a solid 1-2 punch. And so it could be that that's the plan, is to have A.J. Dillon as that second running back, and maybe have Marshawn Lloyd be the third guy potentially. Now to the defense. Defensive line, Preston Smith, defensive end, Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton, defensive tackle, Rashawn Gary, other defensive end. And there's been a lot of positive news coming out about TJ Slayton. Seems to be playing really well, and so he's ahead of Devontae Wyatt, which is interesting. Then Devontae Wyatt is behind them there at defensive tackle, as well as Carl Brooks. Then Lucas Van Ness and Kinsley Anibari, the backup defensive ends, and I think that's mainly seems pretty solid there. Then linebacker starters, Isaiah McDuffie, Quay Walker, Eric Wilson. That's what we've seen so far through training camp. Edgerrin Cooper has still not pushed himself into that starting defense there. And then Tyron Hopper behind them, Christian Welch behind him. And then if we go to cornerback, Jair and Eric Stokes as the outside corners. And then Keyshawn Nixon, of course, behind them. But in nickel defense, Keyshawn will be out there. And potentially Edgerrin Cooper. Who knows? We'll see. He's been out there with the nickel defense a little bit. And then behind Eric Stokes, you got Carrington Valentine. And coming into camp, it seemed like Stokes and Valentine would be competing. But so far through camp, it looks like Stokes has pretty much solidified that spot next to Jair. And so if he stays healthy, we'll see if he can get back to his rookie, how well he played his rookie season. Then at safety, this has been another competition. Not Xavier McKinney has locked in the starting safety role with the Packers, paying him a ton of money. Looks pretty solid. And then we got Javon Bullard behind him, and there's a competition there with Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, Anthony Johnson Jr. And so right now, Javon Bullard slated in there as a starter next to McKinney. I wouldn't say that's set, and as I said, this is the PR team doing this. And so there's still competition there at the safety spot. And then kicker, we got Anders Carlson. I think that there's still competition going on there. I think that the Packers would prefer to have Carlson win the job just because they drafted him. If Greg Joseph wins the job, it's basically admitting defeat and admitting that the guy you drafted isn't who you thought he was. And so I think they're going to give Carlson every opportunity to be the kicker. So I'm not shocked that he is there, even though Greg Joseph has been a little bit better when it comes to field goal percentage in camp. Then Daniel Whelan at punter. Keyshawn Nixon, kick returner, punt returner. Matt Orzek there at long snapper with Peter Bowden competing behind him. So honestly, no really surprises in this in these lineups here in this depth chart. I think that based on what we've seen at training camp, it seems pretty in line with the starters and the reps that these guys have gotten during camp. So seems right now that this would be pretty in line with what the Packers depth chart will look like. Of course, there's a lot of battles on the bottom side of the roster. Lots of the starters are pretty solidified, but some of these other guys are competing for that, final 53, some of the end spots at each roster spot. So that'll be the biggest thing to watch throughout preseason games. But if you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. You can also subscribe to my other NFL channel, Sideline Scoop NFL. And today I've been talking over there about the Brandon Ayuk trade situation. So if you want to check that out and stay up to date with other NFL news, you can subscribe there, linked down below in the top of the description.